Nice. Okay, so thanks to the Library 2.0 sponsors and supporters, San Jose State University School of Library and Information Science, yay, Follett Software Company, Mighty Bell, and Blackboard Collaborate. Thank you. Oh, Michael says his labs bark at things they hear in their sleep. Oh, that's sweet. I don't know if Cooper's ever barked in his sleep. Okay, Joanne, if you can give everyone whiteboard permissions for this slide, I'm going to ask everyone to look for the star icon to the left, click on it, and then click on the map to indicate where you are. You can also post your city, country, time, and weather into the chat. So please, everyone, if you don't mind, tell us where you're coming from on the map, and if you want to type it in too, and maybe what part of the world you're in, where you are, whatever you'd like to share, the time, the weather. And I will tell you it is 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I am in Traverse City, Michigan, up north, as they say, in the great state of Michigan, in a little cottage beside a lake. I got distracted there by the chat for a second. Getting a little cold outside, but it's nice. So, Michael, Michael, you saw me yesterday in Carmel. How about that? Here we are again. I had a good trip back. No worries getting back to Michigan yesterday, and I really enjoyed the presentations in Carmel. Oh, Malaysia, welcome. Nice. I see we have friends in New Zealand, Australia, Malaysia, India. Nice. Canada. Oh. Neat. It is 75 degrees in Daytona Beach at 9 p.m. How wonderful. Chile, nice. We'll take just a minute more. If you haven't got to put a star on the map, please do so. And you can also throw in your location, your weather, your time from into the chat. And nice, sunny Melbourne. Wonderful. Oh, nice, Victoria, BC, Carly. Oh, thank you for coming to this one too, Carly. Oh, Lynette, yay, hello. All right, I think we will go on. Oh, and the debate is on. That's right. Is it just starting? Eastern time, yeah, 9 o'clock. Okay. Cool. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next slide, Joanne. So if you can take back the whiteboard, and we will dive in. Yes, multitasking. So welcome everybody, and thank you for attending. It's so nice to see everybody from really all over the world coming in for this talk. I just did a talk in the previous hour, and we're going to keep going here. I have some water to drink and some cool stuff to talk about. This is a presentation that I gave at IFLA in Helsinki in August. It's based on a paper, and I will make sure that we paste that paper link into the chat before too long so everybody can just download the PDF as well. I have updated the presentation in the last few weeks as I work on a couple of articles on this research. So it's updated a bit from what you'll see in the actual IFLA paper, but I want to make that available to you all. So welcome to 23 Things as Transformative Learning, Promoting Competence, Curiosity, and Communication. I want to start, though, I want to talk about a couple of resources and some theory that really excite me right now. And one is a book called A New Culture of Learning by Douglas Thomas and John Seeley Brown. I would urge you all to put this on your reading list, to track this book down. If you're in some other part of the world, hopefully there's an edition that you can get your hands on. They do a wonderful job of spelling out what is happening with the landscape of learning, with technology, and sort of our participatory culture in the 21st century. I'm using this as a text in one of my classes, and it is absolutely wonderful. Thomas and Brown say, more than just a conduit to communicate information, technology, they're talking about technology, is a platform to share and network imaginations. And that's a beautiful word, imaginations. They also say later in the book, with imagination comes learning. They also say play is the basis for cultivating imagination and innovation. So they have really formalized this concept that we've been talking about for a few years when we've talked about programs such as Learning 2.0 and 23 Things. They formalized it by saying play is important to the learning process. The theory I want to tell you about is Mesereau's theory of transformative learning. And there's a link here, and we'll make sure that I'm going to put these PDFs up on my blog, tametheweb.com, so you can grab them and take a look at some of the URLs I have down at the bottom. This is available as a downloadable PDF. Mesereau describes transformative learning as a process for adult learners where they have a frame of reference, and each time they encounter something new, they sort of change their frame of reference. It becomes more inclusive, discriminating, and self-reflective, and integrative of experience. So each experience you have sort of helps mold who you are and really molds your paradigm or your view of the world. And I think it's absolutely fascinating, and it fits very, very well with Learning 2.0. And here it is, Learning 2.0 or the 23 Things. It really depends on if you've gone through one of the programs, if it was called Learning 2.0 or if it was called 23 Things or any number of things, whatever that might be. So last year at Library 2.011, I got to do a similar presentation with my wonderful colleague at City Libraries in Townsville in Queensland, Australia. His name is Warren Cheatham. We have published so far 3 articles out of the Australian project, which I will tell you about in just a bit. But all the way back, and I did this last year, so I'll just do it very briefly with you all tonight, all the way back to August 2006, the Public Library of Charlotte, Mecklenburg County launched a program called Learning 2.0. And it was a staff development program for self-directed learning for emerging technologies. And at that time it was blogs and wikis and Flickr and instant messaging and all the technologies of the day 6 years ago. One of the beautiful things about this program is it was put out by Helen Blowers and the cool folks at Charlotte Mecklenburg as open source, as a Creative Commons licensed blog program learning module thing that other libraries were free to adapt. And what happened was libraries around the world started adapting it. And let me go to my next slide. Before I go any farther, I'm just going to ask people just to throw into the chat, just to say yay or nay, and if you can do the little smiley face or whatever you want to do. Have you participated in a Learning 2.0 or 23 Things style program? Nice. I see smiley faces. Nice. Nice. So I think some have. I can't see the entire great big chat, but I see some people typing too. Cool. Nice. And thumbs up. Cool. So I'm going to take it to the next slide. While y'all continue to tell me if you've been in the programs or whatever, Helen Blowers actually published, and this is 2009, so I think the number is probably more, that she is estimating that somewhere just under 1,000 organizations worldwide have adopted and utilized the program for staff development or for some type of learning program. Absolutely incredible. Now the cool thing is, and this is for our friends in Australia, the very first library, very first public library, any library, to adapt the program after Charlotte Mecklenburg put it out to be used, they launched in August of '06. I actually went down to Charlotte and did a talk the day they launched the program. In September of 2006, the folks at Yarra Plenty, Christine McKenzie and her library staff, they were like, yep, we can do that too, and they were the first library in the world to adapt the program. I was very lucky when I visited Australia to do the research I'm going to tell you about. I actually got to spend time at their library and met with the folks that had worked on the program. So there's been some research, a little bit of research, but mostly just case studies and articles like that about the program. But many of the times that this has happened, many of the times we've had these articles or publications, people say the program changes the staff. And here's an example. Tatangos and Mason said the program has fundamentally changed the staff's way of thinking and working in the 21st century. Those are very important and interesting words. So what happened was in 2009, I was invited to Australia by the consortium Caval to be the visiting scholar to Australia, and we sort of hashed it out, and they said, what do you want to research? And I had honed in on the concept of Learning 2.0, the phenomenon of Learning 2.0, because Australia was the first country that jumped into it after the program was originally created. So what I'm going to tell you about tonight, or this morning, or wherever you happen to be in the world, is a little bit about the research in Australia, national level surveys, some focus groups, etc., and a little bit about a U.S. pilot study that I'm working on right now. So here are the research questions that have framed this project. All the way back to '09, I've sort of updated them and changed them as I go along and as I learn more and sort of refine what I'm doing. To what extent have Learning 2.0 programs enhanced library staff's confidence and ability to utilize emerging technologies? To what extent have Learning 2.0 programs had an impact on library service? And what are the exemplary practices for the program? So we'll start with Australia. That's where the research began. And here's what I found from the national survey. And this was working with the folks at Caval and with Warren Cheatham in Townsville. We did a national survey, and we asked a number of questions, gathered a lot of data. And one of the things we found, and this is, the numbers are agree, strongly agree, I'm comfortable learning about new technologies. As a result of this program, I'm comfortable learning about new technologies. Those are high numbers. That's 54% and 33%. That's, to me, that's impressive. I'm confident I can learn new technologies. 53% and 36%. Again, very, very high numbers. And I like to explore technology on my own. And we asked people to rate this statement. As a result of the program, tell us what you think. Again, not as high as the two previous, but this one's still pretty high. And then we also asked people if they didn't complete the program, why not? And out of 400, I think it was 430 people that did the national survey, we had maybe 50, 60, 70 that did not complete the program, and we asked them why not. No time / too busy, 74% of those folks. That's what they reported, why they did not finish the program. No time, too busy. Followed by the program was too hard, they didn't like it, and they were not comfortable, 25%. And they already knew about the tools, and that was less than 1%. And block sites was also less than 1%, and that's maybe city government or the governing body actually blocks the sites that they were trying to learn about. So here's a typical narrative or example from a an academic librarian in the responses we got to the survey, I also felt resistance to registering online to sites like Facebook or MySpace because of concerns for personal security. And now this is, to some degree, it is a valid worry. I don't think we need to force people to do things, but I also think just getting a little bit of experience now with Facebook, I don't know exactly what MySpace is doing these days, but with Facebook can be so beneficial, even if you are a little anonymous about it all. I think that is still a good experience to have. Now, this is important, and this is something that sort of came out of the data, came out of the research as I was talking to people and going through the focus group data. Non-completion does not imply program failure. And I think this is really good to remember, especially if you're about to embark on one of these. If you start one in your library and people drop off, the little quirk with the slide there. Other demands on my time took away, didn't help me, not finish. I did use parts of the course later, and I'm continuing with it now, said a public librarian. So one of the things we discovered in going through that data is folks said, yeah, I didn't get to finish, so I didn't actually report that I completed everything, but I learned a lot, and I'm still using it. So the other part of the study that we did in Australia was we looked at, or we talked to specifically program leaders or program administrators and did a survey specifically to them. And here's just a little bit out of that data as well, and this is from the IFLA paper again. 94% of the program leaders encouraged staff to work together. Absolutely, they were encouraged to be in groups or to do 2 people working together. Staff were given work time for the program, 97%. I feel kind of bad for the 3% that had to do it on their own time because I think it should be done on work time. 65% offered prizes or incentives or vouchers for something free or complimentary. And 55% offered open-ended completion, meaning it really didn't have an ending date. It just sort of went on and people could finish as they found time. So here's an example of that. A person says, we allowed 12 weeks for staff to complete it, but after 12 weeks we offered staff to keep going at their own pace. And I think that's one of the things that we've recommended, is just to keep the program up, and people might come back to it as time allows. Or they might remember something from the program and want to jump back and be refreshed about it. And we also asked people, the program administrators, how much they encouraged a sense of play. And I'm glad we did this, because to see it in the Thomas and Brown work really makes this part kind of important to me for understanding how people are embracing this program or learning. And here's someone that reported that the staff who use the time to play and discover are now still interested in Web 2.0. They're the ones who work on projects like Wiki and podcasts and RSS. And again, this data was collected in 2009, so it might seem, Web 2.0, podcasts, etc. But what they're saying is the people that actually played and did the exploration are still interested and excited. But they went on to say those staff who only did the minimum of work to complete each task are not engaged or interested in continuing to learn. So that's really interesting to me. I think that we might need a bit more motivation there. We might find something to engage people or to get them excited about playing, and that may be a key, and maybe another exemplary practice that will come out is how do we make people feel that it's okay to play. One of the other, I didn't put a slide in, but one of the other responses we got, somebody said, I felt very patronized by every week being told I had to play, in quotation marks, with a new tool. So here's the impact on the library as reported from the program administrators, and these are ranked. I don't have the best numbers, so I decided not to put the numbers in yet. I want to make sure I'm really fine-tuning those responses before I put numbers with them. But the number one thing, impact on the library in the mind of the program administrators, was adoption of Web 2.0 tools, meaning after the program there was a higher rate of adoption of the staff using them. Of course, increased staff confidence, as we saw with the national survey, increased staff awareness of Web 2.0 tools. That, I think, is very important. A sense of investigating. They were looking around to see what would happen, and then I have to put this in there because the numbers were high enough to get into the top 5. Too soon, little impact, or no impact. They were still sort of figuring out if there had been an impact. Here's another quote from the administrator survey, which we're going through right now. For some staff, it gave them the interest and encouragement to work in new ways. Some of the tools have been implemented into our e-library service, and staff who completed the 23 things can easily explain these tools to clients, and that kind of sums up a lot of the benefits of the program. Here's another one. I feel this program was truly enjoyed by a small percentage of staff members. Most of the feedback was lukewarm or negative. Most did not see the point and still did not see the point after it was over, and we're glad to get back to real work. Now that says maybe we need to relate it a bit more to the work the library is doing, or show that this is the way that we will be going, and the questions we may be getting, maybe to make it a little more realistic. Sorry, losing my voice a little bit after a couple talks. So that was the program administrators study, or part of the study, and then we also did a case study with the folks in Townsville in Queensland at the city libraries. So here's their site. Theirs was called Discover, Play, and Connect, and we were able to survey the staff before the program. I ran focus groups in the middle of the program, and then we were able to survey the staff after the program was over. So here are some of the thematic areas that we pulled out of this case study research. The program promoted a more personal awareness of the tools for professional development. This was reported over and over again, that they felt, I am more aware, I feel more in the know. And it was more a personal thing than a huge organizational thing. Staff reported that they felt more comfortable talking about or using the tools in meetings and on a service desk, and we saw that before. Once they've been through the program, once they've experienced technology blank, they felt more comfortable talking about it in meetings and on the desk. Here's a direct quote from one of the Townsville staff. I love this. I never read a library blog until this. I have to say, and now I'm reading library blogs all the time, that must be a change. I feel more comfortable answering questions and talking about new technologies, another self-reported statement about changes after the program. So that was the case study in Townsville. I thought we got some really interesting things out of that. That was published in Australian Library Journal, and we'll make sure that when I put these links up, we'll get links to those as well. So I was very lucky to get a grant through San Jose to take this Australian research and bring it over to the United States. And this fall, I'm working on a U.S. pilot project with 3 Illinois, Chicago area libraries. And here's just a little bit from that pilot study. And what's interesting is we're seeing the same types of responses rise to the top. I am continuing to explore emerging tech online, 71%. I am more comfortable, 91%. Opportunity, and this is something I formalized for the pilot study. I want to know if opportunities to continue learning and sort of that open communication are ongoing, and 83% reported that it was. So the site libraries that I chose, and I don't know if this is stacking the deck or not, but I was looking at Chicago area libraries because those were close by and I could spend time with them, and we did focus groups and we did a survey, and they're all sort of notable and high profile, and they're really, what I think is going to come out of this is a very strong list of exemplary practice. And what I found in the focus groups is the program leaders had a lot of really interesting things to say about what I believe were 3 very successful programs. So I'm going to be spending a bit more time with them doing some interviewing this fall. So some implications on this research, and then I'm going to give us some time to talk and just hear from you all as well. So I think it's three things. For sure, going through this program, even if you don't finish, builds confidence. It builds confidence in staff that are working frontline desks, or they're working in positions where they're interacting with users, or they're managing desks or service areas, and they have a confidence that helps them interact or answer questions or talk with people and possibly even make decisions. I think it also leads to curiosity as well, that staff report that they are continuing to explore online, that they're continuing to explore emerging technologies, and I think that sets us up to be trend spotters, and I think that can be a very powerful thing too for making decisions or for understanding what comes next. And finally, I think it does pave the way for a stronger sense of communication, especially if some mechanisms from the program remain. Maybe a monthly learning module still goes up, or the program is continually offered or updated in some ways for new staff, and maybe the blog is still left in place, or some of those mechanisms for communication that can be useful and important as well. So a little bit more exemplary practice for you all coming out of all of this research right up into the U.S. pilot this fall. I think we can understand that the program yields personal benefits of confidence and a willingness to explore first, and organizational benefits will follow. They will come when you have a staff that feels confident and are exploring and are looking at new ways of doing things. That's where the benefit to the organization will fall. I think I would tell libraries to commit to an ongoing communication and learning strategy for staff after the official program concludes. It can't just fall away. That is something I heard in every focus group I ran, both in Australia and in the United States, that someone said, well, when it ended, everything went back to the way it was. Or someone said, I'm worried that when the program ends, that all of this opportunity for learning will stop. So where are we going? What is happening next? There's a few things going on. We've seen libraries offering the program to the public. And I think one of the best examples is the State Library of Queensland. They've been doing it for a long time, offering sort of a Learning 2.0 to the people they serve. I think we've seen the program kind of change and morph as well. I was very lucky to speak at the staff day for Highland Park, Illinois, at their public library, and they did sort of a Learning 2.0 on your feet. They had stations around the library because the library was closed, and there were stations where you could get your hands on an emerging technology and try things out. And they called it, I believe it was a passport to learning. Here's the passport. And if you take a look there, and we'll give it a second, hopefully this is loading up for everybody. They had an opportunity to scan a QR code, to try downloading, to try an e-reader, and to take a digital picture, because really there might be people in your library that have never got to shoot a digital photograph before because they've never been able to get their hands on a digital camera before. If you got stamps on all of the passport areas, you were entered into a drawing, and I thought that was just a really nice way to sort of bring Learning 2.0 into the real world, to get the staff excited, and to sort of do it in the controlled atmosphere of a library staff development day when the library is closed. Now the other thing I'm going to tell you about is the course I teach at San Jose. It's called Transformative Learning and Technology Literacies, and half of the course is based on this concept of Learning 2.0 and implementing the program with sort of looking at the research I've done and reading about the program. The other part of it, we use a textbook by Char Booth, who's an absolutely incredible librarian, and she understands what it means to be a teacher in the library setting, as well as the New Culture of Learning book that I started with. Now, what's really exciting about this class, I'll just talk a couple minutes about it, and then we'll open it up for folks to maybe share some of their Learning 2.0 stories, is we do group projects where a group of 5, 6, 7 students design a miniature Learning 2.0 program for a library setting, for a real-life library setting. Right now, we have 5 groups that are just about to launch their program. 2 libraries in Australia, yay, an academic library in the United States, a public library in the United States, and the American School in Tokyo, in Japan. It's very, very exciting to see these programs, to see the students start back in August, and I say, okay, here's what you're doing, and here's the group you're working with, and see how they take it over this first few weeks and turn it into a real vibrant and exciting program. And I've been reviewing their blogs and looking at their learning modules, and it's just really, really exciting. I will continue doing this class, and maybe some folks out in the audience might be interested in the future, maybe being a project site. So you might shoot me an email sometime if you are interested in that. So, wow, we've done really well. We're hitting the end here. I will open it up to you all. Any questions about the research first, and then I want to ask you some questions about Learning 2.0. So any questions about anything you've seen? And I apologize for losing my voice. And I'll be quiet here for just a second. I think a couple people are typing. All right. Well, you know, I'm not seeing anything. Joanne, just to make sure, I'm not missing anything in the chat box, am I? Because now the chat box looks a little weird.
I haven't seen anything in the chat box, not from my end.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, good. Well, let me ask the group then, and I know we have a few people that may have been in these programs, administered the programs, or studied these programs. Any thoughts about Learning 2.0, or any ideas or anything you'd like to share about the programs that you've participated in?
Yeah, it does look like some people are having difficulty writing in the chat. Let me just see what I can figure out.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm just seeing white.
Cameron, can you go ahead and pick up the mic?
Thanks, Joanne. I think you disabled the chat function just after we did the map at the start of the session. No one's been able to put anything in chat since then.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. Cameron says now we can. I apologize, everyone. I did not notice that the chat was not working while I was talking. But now I see that my chat window has grown to like a mile long. So again, if you shared something in the chat or you want to paste it back in or to retype it, that would be very cool. And I would gladly answer a question or respond to anyone that has anything they'd like to say about Learning 2.0. And apologies for that technical glitch.
Yeah, I apologize too about that, everyone. I didn't realize that.
And I see a lot of people typing, but I still don't see anything coming in to the main room.
There is a question here. I can read it for you.
Thank you.
Just a second here. Yeah, it's just trying to catch up, so I'm losing the chats as they go.
Oh, I'm so, there they are. Okay. Oh, they just suddenly all appeared. Okay. Jane says, only to say that it's a very good program and once staff are motivated, participated and learned from their sessions. Yes. Okay. Michael says, is anyone doing research on changes in an organization overall as a consequence of experiencing a Learning 2.0 program? Michael, that's what I thought we were doing. I thought we were looking at organizational change, but it really, I guess the way we collected the data or the data that we got pointed more towards an individual personal type change. And there were some hints of organizational changes. One of the things that rose to the top out of the Australian study was that some of the libraries, especially the public libraries, sort of became centers for sort of saying, we're doing this, look at how cool this is and we can teach you about this, out to city council, to other areas of city government. So that, I think, is one positive. And Jelana says, I did 23 things and ran 2 programs. The numbers were similar. Any tips for overcoming staff resistance to participation in these programs? I think it really has to, a couple things. It has to come from the top, that it is okay to take the time to participate and, dare I say, play with the technologies. It has to come really all the way from the director or the administrator who is ever in charge. And I think it also has to be expected that it will be done on staff time and that it is okay. And this is something that was in the data more than once, that people felt bad if they were in the workroom, in the back room on Facebook or on Twitter because they thought other people would think they were not doing their jobs. So we really have to make it clear that this is important, that it should be done, and that it's a thing that staff should participate in. I think the success rates, I'm looking at Cameron's comments, just wondering about success rates of participants when they have a group of colleagues also doing these courses. I think that has been helpful. The other thing that was helpful was Townsville had something called champions at each location that would help people, that would help them if they had a question, like a real body physically there that they could talk to and maybe sit down and look at something on the computer together. That's a good point. Anna makes a good point about if English is not your first language, I think the majority of the program has been done in English. I don't think it's been translated as much as we would like it to be, and I think that's something very, very interesting. Allison says, we adapted the program for a law firm library, and we're now working on a program for the association. Nice. Nice. Oh, and what a great point there. Makes me think of recent articles for bring your own devices or bring your own access, and I think that's part of it as well. Nice. I appreciate all these comments, everybody. Oh, and Rhonda, thank you for sharing that link to Stephen Abrams' post about the original 23 things being irrelevant. Yes, a sandbox at work, and that's very much the same thing we're talking about. I think Learning 2.0 just formalizes it a bit more. That idea of a sandbox can be so important. Okay, and Polly, I want to give a shout out to Polly, who's in the room tonight, Polly Alita Farrington from New York State. She says, I really agree with what you said about people who don't complete. Even if they only do a few things, learning is taking place. Last semester was the first time I taught transformative learning, and Polly was instrumental in aligning the project sites for that first kind of chaotic class that we had. So Polly, thank you so much for that. And Jenny says she did her 2.0 at home because she really didn't have time at work. Carly, what a great question. Do you find people are better equipped to manage change in general? I want to say yes, but that's very anecdotal. I don't really have like a study to share with you or anything like that, but absolutely. I think once you sort of embrace the chaos that that we might find online with how quickly things change, with like a site suddenly adding a new button or a new feature or whatever, I think that does help just to manage change in general. And Lynette, thank you for being here. I really have appreciated what you've done surrounding Learning 2.0. And she says, when we taught it to the public, we also conducted workshops each week in the library. And I think that's very interesting. I know the original program was meant to be like sort of solely online and solely almost individual, but I really think that component of champions and having workshops in physical locations, I think that can be very helpful, because one of the things that I heard, especially early on in the Australia study, was people still wanted that sort of contact in the training room. And I think you can still play and you can still sort of explore, but still have somebody in the room with you. Absolutely. Nice. And Cameron says, courses like this are great when they develop an ongoing community. An example is the VIC-PLN. Oh, yes. VIC-PLN. Nice. Community on Twitter in Australia. That's beautiful. Nice. Yeah, Stu, the passport idea is really interesting. I think that might be something that more libraries could adopt as maybe even an add-on to Learning 2.0. And maybe that's what the workshops too could become, is maybe you get a stamp on your passport if you do a hands-on sandbox style workshop experiential type thing. Oh, and that's a great point too. It was easier with our second program because people who did it first became mentors for the second stream. Yeah, that's nice. And that sort of that handed down learning thing can be important as well. Oh, Carly, that's a good point as well. A good intro, 23 Things is a good intro to bring more people onto a library social media committee. I think that's a really good first step. Like if you want to move your library into social media, you want, for example, to do Facebook, Twitter, maybe a blog, whatever. If you start with the learning program to get people comfortable, instead of just dumping them on it in a meeting and having a lot of no's and negativity and people being scared, I think that'd be a really nice way to do that. Very good. I think that would be a very good part of that assignment. Oh, and Polly, this is cool. Polly says, I'm excited about an upcoming program. School librarians will be partnering with classroom teachers. That's cool. I think there should be more of that. And then the next step is the librarians and the classroom teachers partner with the administrators, the principals, the superintendent, and the school boards. Nice. Nice. Well, I want to make sure everybody, if anybody had a question, that they got to ask it. If anybody had something to say, I think we'll take a couple more minutes, and I think we might wind down so folks can move on to the next talk, and I can wind up for the evening. This has been good. Two good talks right in a row. Any last sharing or questions from anyone? I really appreciate folks coming to hear about what we've been doing with Learning 2.0. Especially from all over the world. And that, to me, just the global nature of this program is so wonderful. I think maybe something we need to do something about the translation issue. So maybe that's something, maybe we can crowdsource that in the future. Find a way to get the program translated into some various languages. Thank you very much, everybody. Yeah, I think we will wind up, and Joanne, we can, if you don't mind, stop the recording. We'll wind up for the night. I think I'm going to drink some tea here for my throat. Oh, yeah, the links to the papers. I'm going to hang out 1 second. I'll paste those in. If you want to hang out 1 second. There's a link to Tim the Web to the post of the original IFLA paper that will have all the citations for this. All the articles that I mentioned will be in that paper that you can download from that link. So please feel free to do that. So